For decades, the world believed it knew the story of Rob Reiner, the smiling director with the booming laugh, the man behind some of Hollywood's most comforting films, the storyteller who seemed incapable of cruelty. But after his passing, something changed. Silence lingered longer than expected. Tributes felt incomplete. And then, quietly, two people who knew him better than almost anyone else, Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, finally spoke. Not at the same time, not on the same stage, but their words, when pieced together, revealed a truth about Rob Reiner that Hollywood had carefully avoided for years. A truth not about scandal or crime, but about control, fear, loyalty, and the emotional cost of genius. When Meg Ryan first met Rob Reiner, she was still trying to prove she was more than a pretty face. Hollywood had already begun boxing her into roles that smiled too easily and cried on cue. Rob saw something else, or at least that's what she believed. On the surface, he was her champion. He praised her instincts, defended her choices, and told her she had a depth most directors missed. But behind closed doors, Meg would later admit, the support came with conditions. Reiner didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. Instead, he questioned. He planted doubt. He made her feel that every instinct she had needed his approval to be valid. Billy Crystal experienced it differently. As Rob's longtime collaborator and friend, he stood closer to the center of Reiner's creative world. Their bond was legendary. They laughed together, fought together, built careers together. But even Billy would later confess that Rob's warmth had an edge. He wanted devotion, not disagreement. He wanted collaborators, not equals. If you challenged him too directly, you didn't get yelled at. You got slowly pushed out. Projects stopped coming. Calls went unanswered. And in Hollywood, silence can end a career faster than conflict. During the making of their most iconic films, the tension was invisible to audiences. On screen, everything felt effortless. But Meg would later say that off-screen, she often went home exhausted, not from the work, but from the emotional pressure of never wanting to disappoint him. Rob Reiner had a vision, and once you stepped inside it, leaving or even questioning it felt like betrayal. Billy Crystal, reflecting years later, described Rob as a man who carried enormous fear beneath his confidence. Fear of irrelevance, fear of being misunderstood, fear of losing control. And that fear shaped how he treated the people closest to him. He wasn't cruel in the traditional sense. He was meticulous. He remembered everything. He held on to moments when he felt slighted, storing them away quietly. And those memories influenced future decisions in ways no one ever openly discussed. Meg Ryan's breaking point didn't come during a fight. It came during a moment of praise. Rob complimented a scene she had played, then casually mentioned how easily another actress could have done it better if Meg hadn't followed his guidance so closely. It was said lightly, almost jokingly, but Meg would later say it shattered something in her. It made her realize how dependent her confidence had become on his validation. After that, her relationship with him changed. She pulled back emotionally, even as she continued to work professionally. Billy noticed the shift. He felt it too. Over the years, Billy tried to challenge Rob gently, to remind him that collaboration required trust. Sometimes Rob listened. Often he didn't. Billy admitted that there were conversations he avoided, not because he didn't care, but because he didn't want to fracture a friendship that had already survived so much. After Rob Reiner's death, the industry rushed to celebrate his legacy. Headlines praised his kindness, his humanity, his belief in love and connection. Meg Ryan watched quietly. She didn't disagree with the praise, but she felt something important was missing. When she finally spoke, it wasn't to tear him down, it was to humanize him. She said Rob taught her how powerful stories could be, but also how dangerous power becomes when it goes unquestioned. Billy Crystal echoed that sentiment in his own way. He described Rob as a man who loved deeply, but feared vulnerability, a man who gave the world warmth while keeping his own insecurities tightly guarded. Together, their words painted a fuller picture,
Not of a villain, not of a saint, but of a deeply complicated human being whose influence shaped lives in ways both beautiful and painful. The truth they told wasn't explosive. It didn't involve secrets meant to shock. It involved something far more uncomfortable: the reality that even the people who make us feel safe can quietly control us, that mentorship can blur into dependency, and that gratitude can silence necessary honesty. Rob Reiner's greatest gift was his belief in storytelling. His greatest flaw was believing his vision needed protection at all costs. Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal didn't speak out to rewrite history. They spoke to complete it, to remind us that legacies are never two-dimensional, and that understanding the full truth doesn't diminish greatness, it deepens it. And perhaps that is the final lesson Rob Reiner left behind: that love, creativity, and power can coexist, but only when we're brave enough to look at them honestly, even after the curtain has closed.